we were talking a little bit before about the interaction with the community that's using your stuff. Um, how what's kind of the breakdown between people who are just grouchy, grumpy jerks about things and people who are very appreciative and
Yeah.
constantly saying, "Hey, good job, joy, joy."
Yeah, it's really interesting. You get the vocal people. There are a lot of people who use your stuff and never say anything about it. Or like maybe they post on Reddit or somewhere else and say good things about it. But like in general on your repo, you're not getting just a issue that's like, thank you. You might
Right.
hear on Twitter or something, but you're generally seeing the bad most of the time. It is there's an issue. There's this feature I need, or something doesn't work. Um, so it feels overly negative a lot of times. But there are also lots of things that are wonderful, that are like people just contributing stuff or helping make it better. There's been quite a few people who you see recurring posting issues and trying to just make pay better or any of my open source stuff. And they're like, yeah, this doesn't work in Rails 7 yet. So I've found this issue and whatever. And they try and help just make it work. And that stuff is great, but you don't really feel like it's necessary. They'll say something nice, but it'll always be like, hey, we still got like these things to improve or fix or whatever. And they'll say thank you for, the library and whatever, but it's never usually just thank you, I appreciate this. And, that being by itself, it's usually tied with the other issue, something going wrong.
Sounds
Right.
like for open source projects, you have the issues tab. Now we need the praise tab.
Right.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah,
Get on that GitHub.
I like it. Yeah, it would be kind of cool because they kind of like they encourage people to do that with GitHub sponsors, but it's like you have to pull out your credit card to do that,
Yeah.
and it just
Yeah, but
needs it
just
needs
but
something simple like
statement.
that.
Yeah. But a positive statement, if you want to, then you could integrate and say, oh, you could add a little donation.
Yeah, testimonials tab.
Yeah.
I mean, just a thank you goes a very long way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know, maybe they could do something with discussions or something like that. That just, I think that tends to be the thing. It is people trying to get stuff done, and it's not necessarily just people chatting. You're like working when you're on GitHub. So you aren't just like on Twitter having a conversation.
Right.
So it's a different experience, I think, and it leads to different tendencies there. But overall, I think if you use your stuff and get value out of it, then like it's much easier to go deal with those things. But like some of the old projects that, simple calendar, people can post issues on that, and I'll be like, at some point I get annoyed that people are still using it, and I'm like, I'm not going to maintain this. And you can then either like just ignore it like a lot of people do, or try to encourage a new maintainer or something else. That's probably what you should do as the owner of the open source project. If it's not going to get much of your attention because it's mostly just bug issues and other things, then like maybe you can find somebody else who would like to take over. But yeah, it can be hard as projects become less relevant for you, and people are like, well, you never updated it to Rails 6 and Rails 7's out now, and we're still waiting for you to merge these PRs that fix X, Y, and Z. Like, if you get those emails from GitHub all the time, then it's probably going to be kind of depressing to just not have the time or the energy or whatever to go keep up with it.
Yeah.
So,
and man, we're running on time here. I've enjoyed this conversation so much I wasn't even paying attention to what time it was.
Yeah, here we are.
But it's I do want to close. So OSS is challenging, and it can be very difficult. But I want to end with something that may encourage more people to get involved in OSS, because I think it's really important. I mean, OSS is a big part of the Ruby community for sure, and many other communities. But it's important. If we didn't have that stuff, we wouldn't be getting very far. So one of the things I'd like to close with is, tell us about one of the coolest things you've ever experienced because of OSS.
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, the thing that changed my life was getting those emails from the people in South Africa and whatever else, because they told me like, you changed my life, because I couldn't use Ubuntu Linux at all, and you made this thing, and now I can. And like, I can't find more fulfilling stuff than that. Like for me, that was just like the greatest thing, and that was what made me want to keep doing it. And the other thing too is just, you build this stuff, it's going to help your career. Like I can't be building Rails stuff if DHH hadn't made Ruby on Rails open source. If Ruby wasn't open source, we couldn't be making contributions for the JIT and everything else that makes it better. So I don't know, to me open source has been like my career, like biggest thing that I've ever done in my career, doing open source when I was a junior, because then I can show that like, hey, I built something that people actually use when I start interviewing at my jobs. And then the more you get into your career, it's the same kind of stuff. You're like, look, this gem I wrote, for fun has a 1.6 million downloads, and I've got like, all this different experience that I can share as well. That's one of the negatives of like working on proprietary stuff. Like you don't have as much stuff to go share. You get to meet a lot of people who like contribute to open source or whatever. Anybody who like opens an issue, you get to meet them and talk with them and hopefully become friends, and they, get to be part of your community and whatever. So I don't know. Open source has been to me like the foundation of all this stuff. Like there's so much we have that is due to open source that I just want to keep doing it and get back what I can, and balance that so that I can make money and afford to do more of that. And worked out with doing screencasts and Jumpstart and everything to kind of like allow me funding for that. So that's been great.
Yeah.
If you like this clip and want to watch another one, you can click right here. Or if you want to watch the full video, you can click here.